here we are, the first episode ever of Another in the Fire. Yeah. And we've been wanting to do this for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to tell the story, why we're doing this, where we're sitting right now. That's a big part of this whole thing. But I think we should just first talk about the title, Another in the Fire, why we picked it. If you, we talked about what we wanted this to be, and that's why it's called Another in the Fire, Trials, Triumphs, and the Call to Lead. We wanted to create this space, really, for an honest conversation about leadership, about how, frankly, hard it can be to lead, the difficulties that come from it, the trials, also the triumphs. Mm-hmm. It's the joy of our lives to do this. This isn't a Debbie Downer podcast about all the perils and horrible stories of what it's like to be a leader, but
it has great moments too.
Great moments. And the call to lead, which no matter if you run a business, are leaders of a church like we are, mm-hmm. Or just your family, whatever it is, leadership is a calling, and with it comes a lot. And so we hope that by, just having this time to talk about our story, about what it's been like to lead in this way, that we can provide, an environment where people open up, are honest about the difficulties that come from it. Because with that, as we've seen, that brings a lot of healing and peace when you hear others talk about what they've gone through.
Yeah, we've been in full-time ministry since our early 20s. And so I wish we would have had something like this to lean on and to look to when we first started out in our ministry journey. Yeah.
So Another in the Fire, we're talking about other people being in the fire with us, as we'll mm-hmm. talk about during the course of this time, right? But of course, also another in the fire pointing to Jesus. This isn't necessarily a Christian podcast, I would say, but we are Christians. We do lead a church. And so we're going to inevitably tie back to mm-hmm. Jesus being with us in our calling. But regardless of what listeners believe, regardless of what you believe, listening out there, this is going to be, I think, helpful for everybody who finds themselves in a position of leadership. Yeah. So, well, let's start. Let's just talk a little bit about our story and, frankly, where we're sitting right now. We are sitting in our church's worship space, which was literally burned down by a fire about 5 years ago. Yeah. But our story didn't really start there. We walked into this building in 2012. We were newly married. I mean, weeks after we got married. And funny story is, about a few weeks after we walked in this space, I was actually standing about in this spot right here, playing guitar in our worship team. Yeah. And then we loved it here. I mean, mm-hmm. made a lot of great friends.
Became members right away.
Yeah, became
got
members.
Plugged in.
Were very involved. And then you got a call and an ask.
I did. I came on staff. We had been here for about 2 years, and it was just a natural transition period for us and mm-hmm. where we were and where we wanted our family to go, and it was closer to home. I was working really far away from home, yeah. And so it just seemed like a natural fit. Although at the time, I didn't really want to. I kind of went kicking and screaming, but I was excited. I was eager. I didn't know what it was going to look like. But then 6 months later, you came on staff.
Yeah, it was never either of our plans to be in ministry at all. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think growing up in college when we met and everything, we both resisted that. We didn't want that. Yeah. And then you end up in full-time ministry. Yeah. 6 months later, I really feel a call into full-time ministry, became the youth pastor here. Mm-hmm. And there we are now, 24 years old. We mm-hmm. were at the time, both in full-time ministry. Yeah. And We could tell.
Lots of people thought we were crazy.
We thought we were crazy. Those were, those were some very hard conversations with us.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the trajectory of our lives. This was not planned. I had just gotten a, advanced degree in another field, spent a lot of time studying, preparing for that. And it was a total life altering decision to both of us go into ministry.
Yeah.
But the years that followed were really special.
Yeah.
They really were. Some wonderful times. I was the youth pastor. You were here all the time.
So I was also the youth pastor.
So you were also the youth pastor. Our first child was born in 2015.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, and what a sweet environment for her to grow up in.
Yeah.
Our second daughter in 2018. And it was a really special time.
They were community babies. They were everyone's baby.
Yeah. And like any period of time, there were ups and downs during that time. But I remember now we lead this church.
Mm-hmm.
Now we lead it. Then we did not.
Yeah.
And isn't it such a difference?
Totally. I mean, I think we thought we were in leadership back then, during those times. And we were to an extent.
Yeah.
We led ministries, we led Bible studies, we led mission trips.
People looked at us as leaders.
Yeah.
And we were.
But we weren't leadership.
Right.
Which is kind of hard for a congregant to understand. It's kind of hard for people who aren't on the church staff to make that differentiation between staff and leadership.
Yeah, there's just a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not any lesser than. I don't think that what we did then, just being on staff, was a lesser than we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for anybody in a position. Just because you're not, owning a company, running a company, leading a church, whatever it may be, if you're not doing that, doesn't make you a lesser than, but it is different.
Mm-hmm.
It is very different coming from two people that have experienced that difference. There's just a magnitude of difference when you are the leaders.
You contribute to the mission differently.
Right.
You relate to the people that you're leading differently. It's just a lot of figuring out what each of those roles looks like.
Yeah, and I wouldn't trade those early years for anything.
No.
We learned a lot.
Met a lot of incredible people, did a lot of really incredible ministry.
Oh.
And I look back on those years with really fond memories.
Yeah, and I don't think that you're really able to lead others well without supporting somebody else first, without learning what it's like to just be a support, to support a mission, to support a vision. Now, of course, we're the drivers of the mission and vision here, but you learn so much serving under someone else's leadership.
For sure.
So, maybe if you're listening out there, those seasons don't be so quick to move on or wish. You have lessons there to learn that no matter what happens later on and whatever you end up doing, you can't replace those lessons in that time.
Well, and you have work to do. God calls you to different seasons for a reason.
Right.
And so we weren't in leadership for a reason at that time. We were with teenagers, which was so fun, and young adults, which was so fun.
Yeah.
We did kids. We've done it all. So if we had been in leadership, all those things would have looked different. And I feel like we wouldn't be as better off for it. We had some really incredible memories and relationships and, just kingdom impact that wouldn't have been possible if we were in a different position.
Yeah. But then came July 2020.
Yeah.
And for many people, 2020 was a very complicated year.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was probably thus far the defining year of our lives.
Yeah.
Because in July 2020, we got a phone call that our church was on fire.
You thought it was a joke at first.
I did. I thought it was a joke. I said, I know it's on fire. My friend Bill called me and told me about this. And I said, I know it's on fire, isn't it?
We're
and
rocking and rolling.
like, no, it actually is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled in that night, and sure enough, it was on fire.
Yeah.
And that moment truly was just the tip of the iceberg for us. That was the moment everything changed. And once we come back, we're going to talk all about that. You know, when we talk about fires and rebuilding, we've lived it.
Reach Church is more than where we serve. It's our family, our story, and proof that God brings beauty from ashes.
If you're looking for a place that's real, where grace is bigger than religion, and where people actually love and care about one another, we'd love to invite you to Reach.
Come as you are, bring your questions, and experience the hope that's rebuilt us from the inside out.
Visit reachchurch.online to plan your visit or listen to past messages. Reach Church, nothing but Jesus.
Welcome back to another In the Fire, where the heat is on.
Oh, yeah, I love it. The heat is on. And, well, the heat was on that night in July 2020 here. What a crazy night. I mean, you know, I was called that the church was on fire, didn't really know what to think, thought it might be a little, little gas fire in the kitchen or something.
Yeah.
But when I pulled in, it was on fire. There were fire trucks, firefighters everywhere. They were actually cutting a hole in the steeple to let the smoke out, to get water in, to put the fire out. It was a big deal.
Yeah,
And
we started calling people who needed to know.
Yeah.
And
we didn't want them to find out on the news. It was on the
Yeah.
news. It was a major thing.
And there's a camera right at the light by the church. And so I had several people saying, we see the church is on fire, like on this traffic cam.
Yeah.
And so, you can't respond to everybody, but we had to make sure that certain people knew what was going on, and a group started to gather here. There was nothing we could do. I mean, there were firefighters everywhere, people, starting kind of like an investigation as to what started the fire and stuff like that. And I just remember watching water and firemen just pouring out of the building everywhere, going into windows, coming out of the front doors, and you're just helpless.
I didn't even know what to think seeing it. Like, I just remember it kind of being a dream almost, like a dream state. And then coming back the next day, just walking around, seeing all of the soot and the ash and the destruction, really. I mean, it was everywhere.
And we had no idea the magnitude at that time of what had just happened, because I remember talking with a couple other staff members and saying, okay, we need to go pick out new carpeting and new flooring so we can hurry up and get this turned around, because, again, this happened right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And we were about to reopen for in-person services. So we had been shut down for 6 or so months at the time. And we were putting things in place so we could welcome people back, socially distanced, of course, and with masks. But we were ready to bring people back in for worship services.
Yeah.
And then this catastrophic event happened.
And we'll talk about this more in the episodes to come, but here we still are in this space, and it's still not done yet.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more, but like you said, the magnitude, we had no idea what the magnitude was, but it was the tip of the iceberg, truly, because the fire really started some other things that were, well,
it started doing what fire does, refining things.
That's well said.
And revealing things, and it changed everything.
It changed absolutely everything. And just to recap, I mean, in the months that followed, we still had COVID. We were still dealing with that. And then there were just a lot of things that started catching up to the church. Financial decisions. We had another campus that split off. A lot of people split off with it. so
We were in a major season of transition for several reasons.
yeah, and it was there was some growing mounting problems going on. We had declining membership, some financial, again, decisions that were made that compounded. And so we really found ourselves later on in 2021 with some difficult decisions to make. I remember we got a group together here from the church that just reviewed things and set forth some solutions as to what needed to happen to continue. And
Across
to
the
fix
entire
things.
organization,
Right.
it was a full scale review of everything that
Right.
we had going on.
And just for everyone listening, at that time, our organization was more than a church. We owned schools. We had other property in other states. And so all of these things, it was a very complicated thing, really. It was a very complicated thing. And so the solutions weren't easy.
No.
And all of those things were presented. And at that time, I was in leadership now at this time for maybe about a year, maybe less than a year in an official leadership capacity. I was the associate pastor.
And you were an elder.
Yeah. And man, we had some very difficult meetings. And I remember that one meeting that you and I were at, and we looked at each other and we said,
I think it's time to go.
Yeah, I think it's time to go. And
Not because we wanted to,
no,
but because we thought that's what was best for the church. We didn't see another way.
yeah, I really thought that might have been it. And well, it ended up not being, but that surely didn't mean that it was easy.
Yeah.
Because shortly after that, the lead pastor at the time did resign. And then we had some decisions to make.
Yeah.
We weighed a lot whether to stay or not. And there was a lot of reasons for that. We knew that if we stayed, it was going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
There was a lot of relationships involved. As I said, the financial situation wasn't great.
Well, I remember we were even kind of advised to just shut it down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And sell the property.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a year and a half after the fire. We're still in the midst of trying to figure it out, and insurance and different things like that. And, with no clear end in sight at that time.
And that probably would have made the most sense if you would bring in a consultant and they looked at everything. They probably would have said, you're better off shutting this all down and starting over. Because again, it was just so complicated. And for us personally, you were pregnant with our third child.
Nobody really knew.
Nobody really knew. And as the leader of our family, I weighed a lot whether I wanted to put you and our kids through all of that.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was going to be very difficult. But we made the decision to stay.
We had to fight. We knew that God wasn't done with Reach Church.
Yeah.
He wasn't done with the people here. He wasn't done with the mission. And we just, I think, felt that deep in both of our spirits, separately and together, that this was something that we were called to do.
Yeah. There's a song that came out shortly before all of that time called Another in the Fire by Hillsong. And it was a special song to us then, but it became a life song for us at that point, because in those months where I became the pastor, that seems like such a celebratory time. And look, in a lot of ways it was. Again, there was hard challenges, of course, that we'll talk about. But yeah, it was a special thing to be the pastor of this church, regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah.
It was an honor, of course, but it wasn't easy.
No.
And a lot of people, might think like, wow, you became the pastor. What a great thing. And it was a great thing. But it wasn't
It
like,
wasn't without sacrifice.
right. And I always use this kind of image. Pirates of the Caribbean at the end of the movie, Jack Sparrow's sitting on like this pile of gold and yo ho, yo ho. And, you know, a lot like that is the opposite of what this was.
Yeah.
We weren't sitting on piles of gold. We were sitting on literal ruins. There was nothing left. There were people leaving. There wasn't hardly any money left. The money was going like this. People were leaving. Money was leaving. This was a problem. There was a lot of problems, and it was the opposite of sitting on a pile of gold.
It was a huge mountain in front of us, and good thing God's in the business of moving them, because we couldn't do it.
You don't realize, we say all these cliches in Christian circles.
Yeah, I just said one.
Well,
But then you find out that that's actually true. People say it because it's true.
but you don't know how true it is until you
Yeah.
actually live it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can say those cliches all you want, but until you're put in a position where that is actually real, it is just a cliche.
Yeah.
But we really did have nothing but Jesus.
Yeah.
That's our motto, tagline here at Reach, at our church, nothing but Jesus. Man, we had nothing but Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, some of our closest friends left. Every Sunday is this going to be the last Sunday that the church is open?
Yeah.
It was like that.
For a
And
season.
for a season. And then Easter 2022 happened. And that was the first time when we both thought, you know what? I think we're going to make it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to make it. And we finally had a peace about it, though there would still be challenges, though there were still a lot of things to figure out and rebuild. There was a peace that there is another in the fire.
Yeah.
And there were also people standing in the fire with us, and a group of people who felt like we did. We are going to stay and fight and rebuild the ruins. And it hasn't been an easy process, but here we are.
Yeah.
And we're still sitting here in this space that's not quite done yet, but every day is one day closer to it being finished. But I mean, let's just talk about, I mean, I was the pastor, but you know, you were with me through it all. And we have kids. You have relationships with people. It was very difficult.
Yeah. It's still hard to talk about. It was like walking through a cave. I'm studying this book right now called The Path from True Face Ministries. And they talk about the journey with Jesus being a path. And sometimes you're in a cave, but trusting God and trusting the Holy Spirit to guide you will turn the light on and show you your next step. And so the cave is dark a lot of times. You don't know where to step, where to go without the Spirit guiding you. And so during that time, we were really able to just trust, because that's all we could do. All we could do was trust Him, because we had truly nothing but Jesus. And so, you know, there were friends who I said, I'll see you next Sunday. And I haven't spoken to them since that day for whatever reason. You know, and then you get into the kids. How do you explain that to your children? They were very young at the time. The girls were, and Bodie wasn't born yet. And so it's all kind of like a balancing act, because you don't want them to be hurt. You don't want them to feel that you were hurt. But that's what we do. That's the human condition. We hurt, and we hurt people. And so trying to teach them that people are in our life for a season, or we're in a certain place for a specific time, it's been a wild ride. It's been a roller coaster, and we're not done yet.
Yeah.
But it's also exciting and invigorating when that light turns on in the cave and you know that you can step forward
Yeah.
and trust. You know that Jesus is going to be there to catch you, and you're going to step onto solid ground. You're not stepping onto something that's shaking or fleeting, or a step that's going to be ripped away from you. When you're trusting him, you know you can take that step forward. And I think that really was refined for us during that season and carries us through to now.
Yeah. There's this verse, it's a quoted, talk about cliche verse for Christians, Philippians 4:13. This is, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And if you look at the
It's
surrounding,
not just for football games.
it's not, believe it or not. And it's actually about contentment. That verse, if you look at the context, it's actually about contentment. And during that time of incredible difficulty, that's, I think, what I learned is what it really means to be content. We put our hope in so many other things, but to be content is a gift. And a lot of times you can't be content without going through the fire. And, in leadership, it's one of the biggest gifts that I've developed in my own leadership is the gift of contentment. Being content when you're a leader is so important because you don't make emotional decisions. You don't lash out. We're human. And there are many times during the course of those months that I wanted to lash out, wanted to post on Facebook, wanted to call people and tell myself, all of that stuff. We're human. We all go through that. But the reason that I think we could rest during that time was contentment. Was I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. This isn't about other people. This isn't about even the season that we're going through. This is about finding contentment in life. And in that season, I think we found it. And it's still a gift that we carry today in going through that. And it has paid dividends now leading into the future. I say it all the time, right? I would not ever choose it. We go back and we're presented with what was going to happen. We wouldn't have chosen it. But I surely would not change anything. Yeah. Nothing.
We got to know God in a different way. And so I wouldn't trade that for anything. You're right.
No.
And I think that verse, we associate it a lot of times with something big. I can do all things. I can do great things. I can do incredibly big things. But, when you're going through a season of that darkness, all takes on a totally different meaning too. Like sometimes all things for us was just getting out of bed. Yeah. Sometimes all things was just showing up. Sometimes all things was just supporting someone else even when we were in pain. And so it just furthers the point of God's faithfulness in that time.
Yeah.
It's all things. It's not just the big things. It's the small things.
Yeah. So through all that, here we are. We're still here. And it's been a wild ride. And we've learned a lot. And we've been through a lot. And I know that people in leadership have learned a lot too. And hopefully through these types of conversations, we give everybody out there listening just the courage to be real with themselves first, to not shy away from what they're feeling and to be real. We're not here to talk about what you should think or what we want to think. We're here to just talk about what you actually do think.
Because we've thought it.
Because we've thought it. We've thought it. And so we hope that this is just an encouragement for people to delve into those things and their feelings, but also to be pointed to something that goes beyond. We were pointed to that, as you so beautifully talked about, and we found something that is such a lasting contentment and peace that no matter what happens, that's not gone away.
Yeah.
The other one in the fire, he's not ever going to go away.
No.
And well, I know you're not going to go away either. So we'll be right back to wrap things up and look forward to the next episode in just a few seconds.
We want to hear from you. Have a question you'd love us to tackle on Another in the Fire, Trials, Triumphs, and the Call to Lead? Maybe you've walked through a fire of your own and have a story that could encourage others. Or there's a topic you've been praying we'd talk about. This podcast is all about real conversations, real faith, and real leadership in the midst of life's challenges, and your voice helps shape it. Send your questions, stories, or topic ideas to connect@anotherinthefire.online and be part of the conversation.
Well, here we are. We're back on Another in the Fire, Trials, Triumphs, and the Call to Lead. Hopefully our listeners are back too after that last segment.
Yeah.
But it's so important. I mean, that's the reason why we were here, that we wanted to sit down and do this podcast, because we have a real story. We have had real struggles, real feelings, a real cave that we walked through. And I think that by being honest about that cave experience, maybe other people will be honest about theirs.
Yeah, because even if you're not leading in a church or in a ministry, anywhere that you're leading, you experience that on some level at some point.
Yeah. And, we'll inevitably talk a lot about our faith, because it is our faith that has carried us through. And I hope that if anyone is listening to this and doesn't have that same faith, maybe they will after listening, because I don't know what I would have done without knowing the other in the fire who literally carried us through a lot. But regardless of where anybody is with faith, with their faith, just being open and honest about leadership struggles, I think, is valuable as well.
Absolutely.
So that's why
and
we're
to know
here.
that you're not alone in that.
Yeah. You're not alone. We know it's hard. So next episode, we're going to be looking at this quote. I'm a quote guy. I love quotes. I'm always quoting people.
Yeah.
Do I drive you crazy with my quotes?
No, I love to hear them. I also love to hear the impressions. So
yeah, and some people I quote may make an appearance on the podcast.
Oh,
we'll see.
Teaser.
A teaser. But I just want to read this quote from Teddy Roosevelt, former president.
I don't think he'll make it on the podcast.
He's not going to make it. Yeah, he's unfortunately not going to make it on the podcast. He's dead. If
spoiler alert.
If you're not a history person, yeah, he's long past. But anyway, here's a quote. This is the essence of leadership, really, to me. It says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." And that really is what the podcast is all about. It's about daring greatly.
Yeah.
It's about having the courage even to fail. I love how he puts that. Think about how many don't walk out encouraged because they're afraid to fail. If we would have been afraid to fail, we would have never stayed here.
Yeah.
And walking into the arena is a hard thing to do, but it's such a rewarding thing.
It's a worthy cause.
It's a worthy cause. And I can't wait to talk more about that next time with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully everybody listening, y'all come back, like, subscribe, follow this.
Share it with a friend.
Yeah, share it with a friend. We're here ultimately for you. for you just to think about leadership, what it's like, trials, triumphs, and the call to lead. So remember, when the heat is on, because in leadership, in the arena, the heat will be on. But remember, when the heat is on, you can always find another in the fire. We'll see you next time.